Why be envious because I am generous? Those were the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 20, verse 16. Do you consider yourself touched by those words? How do you see yourself reacting to someone's success? Do you feel you should be in their position, that they do not deserve it? What happens when you have worked in a company for years and someone who just came into the company a few months ago is about to be promoted higher than yourself? Would you congratulate them or get envious about their promotion? How would you react to someone you consider as a latecomer when you have been working so hard for the church for years? Those who have not been believers, but at their deathbed confessed their sins, professed the faith, and got reconciled with God. Do you think that in God's eyes, he or she is equal to you? Now listen, each of us is God's child. Each of us is created in God's image and likeness, and God invites us, everyone, into his kingdom. However, only God knows at what hour we will enter. These three vices, jealousy, envy, and greed, have destroyed friendships, families, and pulled down companies. Two friends have become enemies because one is more talented and as such more popular than the other. Or because the one that is more talented feels he should be more popular, but then the reverse becomes the case. Siblings have waged war against each other because one is doing well financially than the rest, or is more gifted than the rest, or is more loved by the parents or relations. Couples have separated, divorced, or are in loggerheads with each other because the husband feels the wife should not be paid more than himself, or the wife feels she should be the one getting paid more. Therefore, who should be the homekeeper? Business partners have been at daggers drawn because one is successful and sought after more than the other. Friends, how do you conquer these vices of envy, greed, and jealousy? Do you think they are easy or difficult to overcome? Now stay tuned and listen to these faithfuls who themselves, including myself, in one way or another, have struggled with imperfections, and hope it helps you.
Thank you, Father James. Our beloved viewers, greed is a cankerworm in the fabrics of our human society, and we must get rid of it. We must do that by deeply rooting ourselves in the Word of God and frequently learning from the practical wisdom of our daily lives. We must realign our mentality to accept the finitude of our earthly existence, that life here on earth will someday come to an end, and when that day comes, you will not be judged by the quantity of your earthly achievements, rather you will be judged by the quality of your earthly lives. We must accept the conditions of our human nature, that there is always a limit to what we can or cannot do, so we must learn to accept our limits. We must also learn that each and every individual is unique, but intrinsically connected to the generality of human destiny. What it means is that you cannot be you without the other person, but you can only be you and not someone else. Finally, we must accept that greed is antithetical to the conditions of our eternal destiny. If you must enter into heaven, Jesus said, you must be so simple and so self-contented like a little child. So, be wise.
I think, unfortunately, comparison is something that we've all probably struggled with at some point, comparing ourselves to others and maybe falling into the trap of envy. And so something that I find that really helps me when I feel myself having the urge to compare myself to others is, one, being thankful, just being thankful for the ways that God is being good to me and blessing me personally throughout each day. Because so often I think we focus on what we lack, that we miss the blessings and all the big and small ordinary ways that God is blessing us. So being thankful at the end of each day and giving praise to God for the ways that he's moved in my life that day. But also, if I ever find myself comparing myself to another person and wishing that I was good at something like they maybe were, I just thank God for their gifts, the things that they're good at. Say someone's a really good singer, I thank God and praise him that they can bring people to him through that gift, and recognize and rejoice in our differences, because they're my brothers and sisters in Christ. They're not my competition, and just because they're really good at something doesn't make my gifts any less, and vice versa. So just praying and rejoicing in their differences, praying for them, and remembering that we are one body with many parts.
A credible way of fighting envy, jealousy, and greed is the recognition and the realization of the abundance in God, who gratuitously offers each person what they each deserve. You know, we are unique, and the favors that God gives us for our livelihood are also unique. For instance, in the Bible, Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt while Joshua led them into the promised land. St. Peter the Rock was the head of the church. St. John was the beloved apostle. Nathaniel was guileless. St. Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. Their witnesses to Christ also varied. Now, there is a popular Igbo idiomatic expression which says that when you wish to have the same haircut as another person, you need also to determine if you both have same shape of the head. Don't you know that your perfect beauty blossoms when you start affirming your own uniqueness and living with it? Tell me you are irreplaceable, and I will tell you that not only your irreplaceability, but also your grace and blessings are all connected to your uniqueness. What does all this mean? It means that there is no need of being envious of another person's uniqueness, because whatever you perceive as success sprouts from people's uniqueness. So discover your uniqueness, live with it, and love it.
According to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, greed and envy are types of deadly sins, which are dangerous because they engender other sins. The story about King David and Uriah in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1 to 27 has it that David, who was soaring in affluence, yet succumbed to the sin of adultery because of greed and lust. To conceal his sin, he committed murder. Sin begets sin. Brethren, to avert jealousy, envy, and greed, let us avoid occasions of sin. I encourage us to be gratified in godliness with contentment, which is a great gain. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 to 12. Let us accept ourselves the way we are. By God's grace, work hard to attain greater height in our lives. God bless you.
In life generally, what causes unhappiness often starts with a simple comparison. You have been used to oranges all your life. Then all of a sudden you saw apple. Everything changed. You have been used to seeing your news in your 21 inches television. Then the day you saw 50 inches television, everything changed. You never had any problem with the fact that your skin is black. Then the day you saw the people we call white, everything changed. Just like Eve never had problem with the fruit in the Garden of Eden until the day she saw the beautiful fruit that the Lord asked them not to eat. Everything changed. David never had problem with his wife until the day he saw the wife of another man bathing. Everything changed. And we can go on and on and on. But the reality presented before us is that everything that our unhappiness, our uncertainness, our pains often start with comparison. And this is what leads us to steal, leads us to convert somebody else's good, and to live a life that we'll regret at the end of the day. And that is where you see a curate wants to be a parish priest to be happier. The parish priest wants to be in a bigger parish to be happier. A businessman wants to make more money to be happier. And one who has made more money wants to have chieftaincy title in the village to be happier. And so where will all these things end? And this is what I often tell myself. What I have, you don't have. What you have, I don't need. It is not from the basis of pride, but in realizing that I have everything that it takes to be happy. And so I need to go into myself and bring out that qualities and those things in myself that will make me happy without comparing myself with another person, because we did not come into this world together. If I must compare at all myself with somebody, let it be on the basis of who has shown more love.
Father James has given me the privilege of having to voice out my opinion regarding how one can conquer the sin of greed, jealousy, and envy. Personally, right, I've had this experience of where I was trying to get the job, and someone got the job before me, right? And I felt bad at the moment. I felt really bad because I felt I was more qualified than the person to do that job, and yet the person got the job, and I was envious, and I was hurt, and I was angry, and I don't know, I let go, and I said there must be a reason, right? And I just said, God, I hope you give me a better one. And later on, I heard from people that work with that person, the kind of things the person brings to the table. Yeah, the person might not be qualified per paper, but the person is innovative and brings ideas, and I was like, wow, I'm really happy that person got the job, right? And then later on, in the long run, I got a job that suits me, that makes me happy, that I could feel comfortable in my own skin. And I realized that what the person is doing for that company right now, I cannot do it. So I've come to learn that when you just be happy with someone instead of being jealous about a person, you tend to open doors for yourself. You're like saying, you are telling God that you are giving other people the opportunity to be happy, even though that person is not you. It's okay, because we are all children of God. And because since we're all children of God, you should know that while you are praying and that person is praying, and my God might not answer you at this point, at the time you want, because it's not the appointed time for you, but He will. But at that point, God has answered that person's prayer because it's the appointed time for that person. So I think that is how you should conquer jealousy and greed, right? Like, if you feel you're getting jealous of someone, remind yourself that this might be the person's destiny. Mine is coming soon. There is always a reason for everything that happens in life.
So I find that the best way to get over any kind of jealousy or envy that may be rising within myself is actually just remembering that it's a huge waste of time. That as daughters and sons of God, there is nothing there for us to be jealous of. You know, once we taste the forgiveness of the Father, the love of Christ, and the power of the Holy Spirit, there is nothing on earth that could ever outweigh that. There is no wealth, no possession, no title. You know, when Aristotle set out on his rather famous endeavor to discover the highest good of the human being, he concluded that it cannot be pleasure, because all animals are capable of it, and it falls short of the dignity of the human person. He discovered that it cannot be wealth either, because we want wealth for the sake of buying other things with it, as opposed to for its own sake, and there is no real end to the pursuit of wealth. Thirdly, it cannot be honor or status, because it is bestowed on us by another person and can just as easily be taken away from us. What those three things really have in common is that they create this umbrella of the things we typically become envious of other people for. The fun, the money, the social status they have, which is greater than our own. The fourth, however, is the thing that all humans beings seek. It is happiness. Now, in our Catholic tradition, we understand this happiness to be the beatific vision, meaning to be in full, unadulterated communion with God in heaven. This is available for every single person on earth. So if we're capable of attaining this highest eternal good through the grace of God and our relation with Him, what is there left to be jealous of, really? Jealousy just wastes time, which can otherwise be used to build and deepen our love for God and neighbor. And at the end of the day, right, no matter how much we resent the other person, we cannot add to our own lot by resenting them. We only poison the way we look at the world and the life around us. As Christians, we are called to be virtuous and to walk with people. That means we are called to rejoice when something good happens to another, or grieve with them when something tragic happens. Virtue is by no means easy. It is the narrow path after all, but it is the path that leads to salvation and God, who is our ultimate happiness.
Jesus issued a warning in Matthew chapter 20, verse 15. He says, "Why are you envious when I am kind?" We normally say that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So every poison of vice has an antidote of virtue. We find the antidote to conquer these sins in the fruit of the Holy Spirit enumerated in the letter to the Galatians, chapter 5, and also the gift of the Spirit in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 2. Against the sin of jealousy, we employ contentment, kindness, goodness, forbearance, understanding. Against the sin of envy, we employ kindness, which is the virtue used by Christ himself, love or friendliness, goodness, contentedness. Against the sin of greed, we employ generosity and charity, selflessness and self-control, temperance, ascetic and abstemiousness. In a nutshell, being conscious of the sinfulness will help us to apply the antidote of virtue against them. God's grace is enough for us to conquer these sins.
I will say that the sin of jealousy, envy, and greed are like brothers and sisters. They are intertwined, in my opinion, because for you to conquer the sin of greed, you also have to deal with jealousy. You also have to deal with envy, because greed brings about jealousy. Jealousy then envy. What do I mean by this? If you are the type that is not always content with what you have, you're not thankful, you're not prayerful, you're always looking into your neighbor's property, like, oh, he has the latest car, oh, their mansion is beautiful, oh, their lawn is good. All those things will make you to be envious of that person. And then you start to jealous the person. You see the person, you won't even greet the person because you're so envious about what he has or what she has, and you're not like being content to what yourself have. So to deal with these three sins, I will say that one has to be very content. You have to be very appreciating of what God has given you, and you also have to be very thankful. Mind your business, mind what God has given you. Don't look into what my friend has, what her husband has, what they are doing. Mind yourself, be content, be prayerful. So I'm urging everyone today to have content, to be thankful, and to be grateful for what he or she has. By that, I think one can conquer the sin of greed, envy, and jealousy. Thank you.
Greed and envy are amongst the 7 principal vices, moral diseases that infect a person, exposing him or her to other sinful behaviors like ingratitude, jealousy, and a deadly craving for covetousness. To help conquer these cancerous attitudes, the church offers inversely corresponding or therapeutic virtues. Gratitude and contentment serve as antidotes to the poison of envy, while charity and generosity help cure the virus of greed. We must be aware that all we have or own have reached us out of the gratuitous benevolence of God. This awareness fills us with appreciation and thanksgiving. It eliminates a sense of entitlement and deservingness. It guarantees satisfaction and inner peace, and further translates into a generous open-handedness, kindness, and magnanimity toward others. God bless you.
As recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, from verses 15 following. It might interest you to know that these 3 terminologies, greed, jealousy, and envy, are all vices as against virtue. And any person who really wants to be a candidate of heaven should estray in totality all these vices. How do we fight these sins? Number 1, patience. That is why I love our Mother Mary so much. She waited patiently for the will of God to be done in her life. You must also wait for the will of God to be done in your life, because if you don't cultivate the virtue of patience, you might end up putting your hands in places that is not very correct for somebody who really wants to go to heaven. Number 2, rejoicing with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Some of us find it very hard to congratulate those who received favor from God. There is a saint I love so much, Mother Teresa of Calcutta. She will tell you, when God blesses your neighbor, it means that God is in your neighborhood. If you're happy with your neighbor for blessings received from God, then you will be the next. My dear friends, patience pays. Wait for the will of God to be done in your life. If it's not better today, it's gonna be better tomorrow.
For me personally, I've used love when someone, when I hear about someone's success, I rejoice with them. And I think I learned that from my mom. My mother, when we were little, my mom would always, we see her like, Mom, why are you so happy? Oh, such a woman had, maybe someone had bought a car, someone had a baby. My mom would be so overjoyed. So I've learned that from my mother. I've learned to rejoice with people, to see the goodness in them and to love them for their success, for their achievements. And I think with that as well, God blesses us if we, feel happy, join other people and happy with them, feel that joy with them. And that because we're seeing goodness in them and because God is love. And because He's love, He shows us much love as well, and we have to share that love, with other people. I think that's what conquers jealousy and vices.
In a society that promotes greed and encourages egocentric behavior, in a society that promotes the idea that we aren't bound by morals and that you are the author of your own life, it's easy to fall into the vice of greed. Now, how do we overcome this? Jesus, as always, is the answer. Look to the cross. What does Jesus have? Power? Money? Pleasure? Is He greedy for any of these things? No, rather He puts His trust entirely in His Heavenly Father and asks Him to forgive those who have done evil to Him. He practiced utter selflessness right to the end. This is our example, folks. We need to empty ourselves, practice selflessness, put our trust in God. It's not easy, but ultimately our lives are not about us. They are given to us by God. Now, some practical steps to stop ourselves being greedy. We can perhaps give to charity regularly, volunteer and help out, or give our time and use our talents at church. Pray for people. Obviously allow time for yourself, but always allow time for others as well. In doing so, you will find your life more fulfilling and the temptation of greed will lessen.
So if there is one thing I've learned from today's faith chart, it is that God loves each and every one of us equally, and we should always try to be grateful, to be thankful for whatever we have, no matter the amount. Friends, God's time is the best. He will surely bless you when your time comes. Remember, when God blesses your neighbor, it means that God is in your neighborhood. If you are happy with your neighbor's blessings, then yours is next. In Zechariah chapter 2 verse 8, you are the apple of God's eye. God loves you. God bless you.